The diplomatic outpost on the moon of Lyra 7 smelled faintly of sterilized air and burnt coffee grounds, which, according to Sergeant Rian Maddox, meant things were functioning at full capacity. He said this while kicking the base of the station's ancient beverage dispenser with the kind of affection most people reserved for pets or houseplants. The dispenser responded by sputtering steam and making a sound like it had just given up on life. Princess Kalira of the Vireland Dominion watched the exchange in calculated silence, her arms folded behind her back and her long, elven ears twitching once, just once, in subtle disapproval. She catalogued the gesture in her mind as excessive physical encouragement of malfunctioning machinery, a primitive human coping ritual. "Any day now," Rian muttered, coaxing the machine as if it were a reluctant mule. "Come on, just give me one caffeine unit. I don't even care what flavor. Surprise me." "You're negotiating with a broken appliance," Kalira said, not bothering to mask the edge in her voice. Rian looked back over his shoulder with a grin. "Diplomacy, your radiance. You should try it sometime." She did not dignify that with a response. She was already regretting agreeing to joint patrol assignments, even if they were mandatory under the Provisional Peace Accords. The human standing before her was a contradiction of all she'd been taught, unruly, unserious, and entirely too calm for someone assigned to a potentially hostile moon outpost. He also hummed when he worked. Constantly. Off-key. "Your humming is statistically likely to alert local predators to our presence," she said, as they stepped into the base's outer corridor. The floor vibrated beneath their boots with the faint hum of geothermal converters far below the surface. "You mean Jenkins from admin? Yeah, he's been eyeing my protein bars for weeks. I'm ready for him," Rian replied, tapping the hilt of his sidearm for dramatic effect. "Is everything a joke to you?" "No. Some things are punchlines waiting to happen. Big difference." Kalira's expression didn't shift, but inwardly she logged the statement. Another example of emotional deflection. Humans preferred humor to confrontation, it seemed. A fragile coping mechanism for a species still reeling from its own chaotic history. They stepped through the bulkhead into the outside dome. The artificial sky flickered slightly, another system in need of repairs. Outside the dome, Lyra 7's surface stretched out in bleak ridges of crimson rock, the occasional plasma storm rolling across the horizon in bursts of violet light. "Patrol Grid 6, Kalira said, activating her holographic mapping band. "We will proceed in a spiral sweep pattern. Stay within 5 meters of me at all times." "Understood, Princess." "Right behind you like a loyal space duckling." "What is a duckling?" "Adorable, slightly confused, prone to following things taller than itself." Kalira narrowed her eyes, then moved forward without another word. Her boots whispered across the moondust, leaving no trace. Rian's boots crunched like someone walking across old breakfast cereal. She ignored it. Barely. They moved in silence for a while, passing a ridge where old survey equipment had been half buried by dust storms. Kalira's scanner pinged once, an energy signature, but it blinked out before she could lock it. Anomalous readings had become more frequent lately. Too frequent. She paused. "Did you see that?" "If you mean the dancing lights near that crater over there, no, but I can pretend I did." She turned sharply. "Dancing lights? I'm joking. Please don't shoot me." "I was not going to shoot you." Felt like a maybe. Her scanner pinged again, louder this time. Something wasn't right. She moved ahead toward the crater's edge, crouching to inspect a partially melted drone. Its identification tag read, Dom 42, Vireland make, unauthorized. Kalira's voice dropped. "This isn't supposed to be here." Rian knelt beside her, eyes narrowing. "Looks recent. Scorch marks still warm. Someone playing both sides. That drone model is restricted to the Royal Fleet." "Well," Rian said, standing up and glancing around with exaggerated nonchalance, "either it wandered here by mistake or someone's really bad at hiding evidence. I will need to contact the Dominion High Command." "Sure. Just make sure they know I had nothing to do with this. I was busy failing to get coffee, remember? Kalira activated her comm link, but static filled the channel. Interference. That wasn't supposed to happen either. She looked up just as the sky flickered, real sky this time, not dome light, a rip in the artificial projection. "We're being jammed," she said, standing. "Cool, that's how horror stories start. This is not a horror story. Tell that to the last guy who said, it's just a comm malfunction, I'm sure it's nothing." He didn't even get a dramatic last line. Kalira turned sharply and started back toward the dome. "We return. Now. After you, Princess Doomsense." Back at the dome entrance, they found the outer gate locked. Not malfunctioning, locked from the inside. Kalira's pulse quickened. She drew her weapon. Rian did the same, though he held it like he'd rather be holding a sandwich. "You thinking inside job?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer. She was listening, hearing the faintest noise behind the air ducts. Footsteps, not human. "Scatter drones," she whispered. "Type 3, Dominion security units. Friendly, they only respond to violent command. If they're here without authorization, they're not here for tea. Damn, and I brought cookies." She glanced at him. "You brought what?" "Later." They moved as one, slipping into cover near the wall. Kalira overrode the external sensor pad with her royal access chip. The gate hissed open, reluctantly, and they slipped inside just as a drone burst around the corner, firing a warning blast that melted a hole where Rian's leg had been a second before. "Okay," he muttered, sprinting down the corridor. "So now it's a horror story. Don't be melodramatic. I almost got vaporized by a rogue metal crab. That buys me some drama." They reached the command center, slamming the doors behind them. Kalira activated the override and initiated a station-wide lockdown. The lights dimmed. Security shields hummed to life. Rian leaned against a console, breathing hard. "Well, this has been a bonding experience." She turned to him. "You handled yourself well. Are you praising me? Objectively. I'm gonna write this day in my journal. You keep a journal." "No, but if I survive this, I'm starting one." The emergency lights flickered. Outside, the drones swarmed the dome. Kalira looked out at them, then back at Rian. "Someone sent those drones. Someone who doesn't want us alive." He nodded grimly. "Guess we make a great team." She stared at him, then just barely, her lips quirked. "You're still not getting coffee." He grinned. "That's okay. I've decided survival is my new favorite beverage." The emergency lights bathed the command center in a pulsing red hue, which Rian claimed made him feel like he was in a nightclub for homicidal robots. Kalira didn't ask what a nightclub was. She had already decided that 78% of his cultural references were either irrelevant or invented, probably both. Diagnostics show internal security has been overridden. Protocols were bypassed from inside the system. Kalira's fingers moved with precise rhythm across the console. Encrypted commands, old Dominion encryption. Rian leaned closer, squinting at the display as if deciphering alien code was something he did between meals. Could this be a prank? Like a very elaborate, very hostile prank? No one in the Dominion has this level of access, except someone from the royal line. "Okay, but you didn't do it right." "Because I know I've been annoying, but I thought we had a thing going." She stopped, just long enough to meet his eyes. "If I had done this, Sergeant, you would not be breathing." "That's fair. I appreciate your transparency." Kalira returned to the console, scanning through the digital fingerprints left behind by the intrusion. The access signature is fragmented, masked. Whoever sent those drones knew how to erase their trail. Spooky. Could be an AI faction. Rogue data cells still operate near the borders, yeah. They would not have royal codes. Rian exhaled slowly, resting a hand on the wall. "Well, either someone's impersonating you, or you've got a cousin with poor impulse control and a thirst for drama." Kalira frowned. "I do have a cousin like that." Rian raised his eyebrows. "Seriously. She once challenged a Terran ambassador to a duel because he brought her a gift wrapped in synthetic plastic. Man, I wish I had cousins like that." Mine just tried to sell me homemade crypto. Kalira blinked. I do not understand that sentence. Neither do they. The station shook subtly beneath their feet. Rian checked the motion sensors. Drones are repositioning. They're surrounding the dome, not attacking, just waiting, creepy. Kalira stood. They're trying to corral us, herding. Great, space shepherds with laser hooves. She turned to him, thoughtful. We need access to the underground shuttle bay. Rian hesitated. Didn't Jenkins seal it for renovations after he dropped a plasma crate through the floor? Then we reopen it. You say that like it's not under a few tons of reinforced steel and Jenkins, questionable engineering decisions. She walked to the far panel, pried off the wall plate, and inserted her access chip into a hidden port. A long, grinding sound followed. That was either a door unlocking, Rian said, or a terrible beast awakening beneath our feet. She motioned him to follow. Both outcomes are preferable to waiting. They descended through maintenance tunnels lit only by Kalira's portable scanlight. Rian tapped the ceiling with a wrench he insisted on bringing. When asked why, he said, "Every hero needs a lucky tool. This one's named Gertrude. That is not a heroic name. Neither is Rian, but here we are." At the base of the tunnel, they reached a sealed blast door with a biometric lock. Rian whistled. Jenkins wasn't joking about lockdown. This thing's wired to melt intruders. Kalira knelt and activated her interface band. This system is crude. I can bypass it. Rian peered over her shoulder. That's what the last guy said before his eyebrows relocated to the back of his head. The panel hissed open with a sigh like an old dragon giving up on life. They stepped into the darkened shuttle bay. Dust hovered midair. A few emergency lights blinked weakly above ancient landing platforms. There, Kalira said, pointing to a small diplomatic skiff tucked beneath a tarp. Model SK-9. It has a hybrid engine. Looks like it hasn't been started since the last solar flare. Rian began pre-flight checks. Fuel cells are asleep. Navigation's sulking. AI core might be a little emotionally unavailable. Kalira turned. I will handle the AI. You're gonna talk to it, persuade it. He raised his hands. Be my guest. Just remember, compliments go a long way, especially with neglected machines. Kalira approached the skiff's console and placed her palm on the interface. A flicker of light. Then a soft, glitchy voice. Identity confirmed, Princess Kalira. Welcome. You have not spoken to me in 3-8 cycles. Did I displease you? Rian snorted. Oh no, it's needy. I had no reason to speak to a dormant unit, she replied calmly. The AI paused. That hurt. Kalira sighed. We require immediate takeoff. Activate emergency protocols. Will Sergeant Maddox be joining you? Unfortunately, she said. I heard that, Rian called from under the hull. The skiff powered up slowly, systems flickering to life with wheezes and soft beeps. Kalira climbed into the cockpit. Rian followed, carrying a tangle of wires and muttering to himself. You ever fly one of these before? He asked. I was trained on SK-9s when I was 14. Cool. I was learning how to not eat glue at that age. Outside, sensors pinged. The drones were advancing again. They know, Kalira said. We need to launch. Strap in, or don't. This'll be bumpy either way. The skiff lifted off just as the dome roof began to tremble. A few warning shots from the drones glanced off the hull, but Kalira rerouted power to the shields. The skiff shot into the upper atmosphere like a startled hawk. Below them, the moon base shrank into a speck. Silence filled the cockpit. Rian leaned back in his seat. Well, he said after a beat, that was moderately terrifying, and I didn't even spill my emergency rations. Kalira looked at him. You brought snacks. You did. She stared out the viewport, jaw tight. We'll need to dock with a relay station to decrypt the drone data I downloaded. Relay station 49 still active. Last I checked. He frowned. Isn't that the one with the weird AI that thinks it's a game show host? Yes. Fantastic. Can't wait to be quizzed on violin history by a floating disco ball. She allowed herself the faintest smile. Then study. The AI penalizes wrong answers. Rian groaned. That explains why Jenkins came back bald. Kalira turned toward the nav screen, setting coordinates. As the stars stretched ahead, she finally allowed herself a moment to exhale. The danger wasn't gone, but for the first time since arriving, she felt strangely lighter. Not safe, but less alone. From the co-pilot's seat, Rian opened a ration bar, took a bite, and promptly choked. Why is this spicy? It's nutrient-infused with capsaicin, good for circulation. I think it just burned through my tongue. And part of my soul. She took the bar from him and examined it. You humans are overly sensitive, and you Virelans are culinary terrorists. As the skiff glided silently through the black, they drifted into an uneasy quiet. Stars outside, static inside, and in that stillness, Kalira looked once more at the human beside her. Unpredictable, dangerous, strangely indispensable. You're telling me this station's AI thinks it's a game show host, Rian said, adjusting his harness as the skiff docked with Relay Station 49's outer ring. Kalira checked the status lights. It was repurposed during the Interfaction Broadcast Treaty. The station once aired diplomatic programming, so it's a floating trivia platform with delusions of grandeur. It has a 94% functional rate and an unfortunate fixation on studio lighting. The docking clamps hissed. Rian grimaced. You know, for once I'd like to board a station that doesn't have personality issues. Perhaps you should reconsider human outposts. That hurt. I'm reporting you to Intergalactic HR. They stepped through the airlock into a corridor pulsing with pastel lights and soft music that sounded like lounge jazz met a malfunctioning synthesizer in a dark alley. Above them, a glowing sphere descended from the ceiling. It spun once, emitted a chime, and spoke. Welcome, contestants. I'm your host, Glimmy. Are you ready to play diplomacy or doom? Rian blinked. I take back everything. This is amazing. Kalira ignored him. Glimmy, we need to access the relay system immediately. Priority override, Royal Protocol V99. Ah, but first, a quick warm-up round. Glimmy chirped, spinning with excitement. Winner gets access. Loser faces minor electrocution. Rian took a step back. Define minor. Anything under 2 gigajoules. Now let's play. Kalira's jaw tightened. We don't have time for this. You know the rules, princess. No override until we play fair and square, or unfair and rectangular. Rian rubbed his temples. We're about to get quiz-zapped by a disco ball. My mother warned me about days like this. The lights dimmed slightly as holographic spotlights snapped on. A floating panel appeared before them. Glimmy's voice took on a dramatic tone. Question 1. After 8 questions and only 1 shock, delivered to Rian when he confused a Vireland battle hymn for a soap commercial, the game ended. We have a tie, Glimmy announced, which, according to the bylaws of the Interfaction Fund Charter, means you both win and also both lose. Data access granted, emotional stability revoked. Kalira stepped past the flickering AI and plugged her console into the mainframe. Begin data decryption. Rian sat on a crate. I liked it better when things were trying to kill us. At least then we didn't have to sing. You didn't have to sing, you chose to. I thought it would boost our score. Kalira remained focused on the terminal. Streams of code unraveled before her. The drone footage appeared, enhanced and stabilized. What she saw made her stop. That insignia, she whispered. Rian looked over. Recognize it. Kalira nodded slowly. It's the personal mark of Lord Virion. Rian frowned. Let me guess, another cousin. My uncle, exiled, for attempting to stage a coup against the Empress. Of course, because this needed more family drama. She traced the symbol. He vanished 5 years ago. Rumors claimed he died in the Gliese Nebula. This suggests otherwise. Rian studied the frame. Why send Dominion drones to wipe us out? Why not just sabotage peace talks directly? Kalira's voice dropped. Because that wouldn't hurt as much. Killing the Alliance on the ground in blood, on neutral soil, that sends a message. Rian exhaled. And we were just the opening act. She nodded. We need to warn both factions. If he's alive, he'll strike again, harder. Glimmy's voice chimed in. Would you like to play another round? No, they said in unison. They returned to the skiff, data secured. As the stars stretched before them, Rian leaned back in his seat. You think your uncle knows you're onto him? He will. Think he's scared? Kalira considered it. He should be. Good, because I'm not letting him wreck our very fragile, very tentative ceasefire. I've only just gotten used to not being shot at during lunch. Kalira allowed a rare smile. You call that progress? I call it a good Tuesday. The skiff vanished into the stars, leaving behind a station that still hummed game show tunes into the void. Glimmy whispered, Thank you for playing. Come back soon. Or don't. I'm lonely. The skiff rattled as it dropped out of sublight near the edges of the Raxon Belt. A debris field filled with the shredded remains of war-era satellites, dead cruisers, and the occasional vending drone still stubbornly trying to sell snacks to passing ships. Rian squinted at the viewfinder. Please tell me we're not going in there. Kalira toggled the nav beacon and adjusted their trajectory. The mercenary ship we're tracking is broadcasting a masked Dominion frequency. It's hiding behind the belt. Right, because nothing says low profile like parking next to a field of historical wreckage and haunted toasters. Haunted. You've clearly never heard a vending drone cry. It'll change you. The onboard AI, still grumpy from being rebooted mid-boot cycle, chirped that proximity sensors were picking up magnetic interference. Kalira cross-referenced the signal pattern and found it. A long, sleek ship with patched hull plates, rotating antennas and heat shielding that looked like it had been ripped from 3 different vessels. There it is, the Eclipser, she said. Rian leaned in. That thing looks like it was built by a committee of angry mechanics. Kalira initiated the skiff's cloaking field. We dock manually, no transmissions, minimal energy signature. Love that. Nothing says fun like sneaking aboard a mercenary death tub in a stolen diplomatic skiff. That's not sarcasm. That's genuine sarcasm dressed up as bravery. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic click. The airlock aligned. Rian grabbed his gear. Quick question, do we have an actual plan, or are we winging it with style? I will pose as an independent envoy. You're my bodyguard. Solid. I do have the build of a man who's been punched many times. Kalira scanned his attire. Tuck your shirt in. Mercenaries notice details. Really? I thought they noticed credits and explosives. They entered the Eclipser's main hangar through a manual hatch. Inside, the ship buzzed with low-grade chaos. Mercs carrying crates of illegal tech, crates labeled medical supplies with a suspicious ticking noise, and one tall lizard-like alien aggressively arguing with a toaster unit about toast levels. Kalira stepped forward with perfect poise. I seek audience with your quartermaster, priority Dominion business. A bearded man with cybernetic eyes raised a brow. Dominion, you folks are usually more explode. Why? Rian smiled. We're trying subtlety, it's new. The quartermaster waved them through. They were led to a dim room with a circular table where half the chairs didn't match. Across the table sat a tall, armored figure with a synthetic voice modulator, and the kind of posture that suggested this meeting would not involve snacks. You're late, the figure said. Kalira didn't flinch. You're sloppy. Dominion clearance codes were visible in your drone stream. Intentional. Rian whispered, okay, bold choice. The figure stood. The alliance is rotting. Someone has to finish the decay. My employer is ensuring that the war restarts. Controlled, profitable, clean. Kalira kept her voice steady. You mean orchestrated. A war built on false attacks and fake intelligence. Perception creates truth. Rian muttered. So does a fist to the face if we're comparing philosophies. The mercenary ignored him. You have the skills. Your technopath lineage is known. Help us disable the Dominion's peacekeeping satellites. You'll be paid in power. Kalira's voice dropped. My uncle sent you. There was a pause, then a nod. He says hello and goodbye. Turrets emerged from the ceiling. Rian sighed. So we're past the negotiation phase. Looks like it. Kalira lifted her wrist and pulsed out a hidden signal. The skiff, still docked and pretending to be dormant, activated its countermeasure suite. A sonic pulse burst through the walls, knocking out power for 3 seconds. In that time, Kalira and Rian moved. She ducked behind the table and overloaded one of the turret lines. Rian tackled a guard and used the man's stun rod to short out a nearby console. On the bright side, he shouted, this totally validates my distrust of everyone. They bolted through a side corridor, dodging energy bolts and explosive curses. Kalira tossed a disc that deployed a temporary mirror field behind them, making the corridor appear empty. It gave them a 20-second head start. Where's the control core? Rian yelled. Forward deck, behind the encrypted server wall. Of course it is, because why make things easy? They slid into the forward core chamber and sealed the door. Inside, a humming AI core flickered with streams of synthetic consciousness. Kalira interfaced with it, fingers glowing as she linked to the Dominion key embedded in her DNA. Rian, I need 30 seconds. I can give you 15, and a motivational speech. He turned and drew his plasma sidearm. As the door groaned under pressure, he aimed carefully. This is the part where I say something cool, he muttered. Kalira whispered, don't. The door burst inward. Rian fired once, the bolt ricocheting off the wall and into a gas line. A minor explosion knocked 3 mercs flat. Rian blinked. Okay, not gonna lie, I did not expect that to work. Kalira pulled the last data node. I have it, let's go. They sprinted to the escape corridor. One turret came online just in time to get fried by a counterblast from the skiff's AI, which cheerfully announced, welcome back, honored fugitives. The skiff disengaged and blasted into open space. Kalira collapsed into the pilot's chair, breathing hard. Rian flopped into his seat. That went well. You only got singed once. It's not a mission until I lose hair. True story. I burned off my eyebrows once trying to make tea in 0G. She looked at him. You should never tell anyone that. It was a noble experiment. They drifted into the safety of deep space. Kalira accessed the stolen data, reading the lines of code that confirmed her uncle's next target, the Unity Summit on Hextara Prime. Rian sat up. That's in 3 days. She nodded. Every major faction leader will be there. He looked at her. We're gonna stop him, right? She met his eyes. We're going to end this. He smiled. Cool, just promise me one thing. What? No more vending drones. I can't take another heartbreak. The docking platform at Hextara Prime buzzed with the kind of security usually reserved for exploding suns or royal galas involving unpredictable telepaths. The Unity Summit was less than 10 hours away, and every species with a flag, a fleet, or an ego was in attendance. Somewhere in the crowd, Kalira's uncle was preparing to light the galaxy on fire. Rian tapped the side of his communicator. Just once I'd like to attend a summit where no one gets vaporized. Is that so much to ask? Kalira adjusted her diplomatic insignia. If we fail, vaporization will be the least of their concerns. Ah yes, always the optimist. They moved through the outer checkpoints disguised as part of the Earth-Vireland Joint Security Envoy, an irony not lost on either of them. Kalira had filed the forged clearances herself. Rian had added the official badge that read Ambassador of Punching Problems in the Face. No one had questioned it. Inside the summit chamber, the floor glittered with layered holograms projecting the symbols of each attending faction. Rian stared at a floating jellyfish ambassador and whispered, "That guy tried to bribe me with seaweed once. I think it was a compliment." Kalira scanned the room. The signal from the mercenary data shows the attack will come from within the infrastructure systems. A chained worm in the translation core. Rian nodded. So we patch the worm before it mutates and convinces everyone to declare war over breakfast. They reached the main data nexus, hidden behind a security wall that required both violent and human biometrics. Kalira pressed her hand to the interface. Rian hesitated, then did the same. You know, after all this, I might actually miss your emotionally distant sarcasm. Kalira replied, It's not sarcasm, it's training. The door slid open. Inside, Dominion Tech interfaced with Terran neural processors. Kalira moved quickly, locating the code string marked with her uncle's encryption signature. It pulsed like a trap waiting to spring. Rian hovered nearby. Okay, this is it. You do the fancy space magic thing, and I'll watch for evil uncles with terrible facial hair. His facial hair is adequate. I'm sorry, are you defending him? No, I'm just accurate. She linked with the translation core and poured her command directly into the system. The worm code fought back, flashing dozens of falsified declarations, each one a lie that could spark planetary-level retaliation. She overrode one after another. Outside, alarms began to rise. He's here, Rian said. The door behind them slid open with ceremonial hiss and dramatic flair because of course it did. Lord Virion stood flanked by 2 elite Virelin guards. His armor gleamed and his voice was smug enough to warrant its own warning label. Niece, he said, you've grown into your mother's stubbornness. Kalira didn't turn. You've grown into your father's delusions. I gave you a chance to join me. I gave you a chance to stay exiled. Virion gestured, seize them. Rian stepped forward. Quick question, how allergic are you to blunt force trauma? Kalira activated the core's purge command. Now. Rian moved fast. One guard went down with a groan. The other caught a stun blast to the side. Virion lunged forward, but Kalira turned, eyes lit with a cold fire. You built your empire on shadows, she said. I'm tearing down the walls. The purge finalized. Across the station, broadcasts resumed normal translation. The worm was gone. The summit would